Before we get into today's segment, as most of you already know, I'm no longer ever allowed back on YouTube. Forever. So the Daily Show is now here on BitChute. This is the main channel with the Red Elephants logo. This is the only channel we'll be posting on every single day. And then live Monday through Friday on DLive.tv/Vincent James. Link in the description if you'd like to follow over there to get notified for when I am live streaming. And if you'd like access to all of the exclusive content, access to the Discord, and access to all of the full-length live streams after we are live, you can get those on either Patreon or Subscribestar at the middle tier. They're both basically the same platform, but the entire show now relies completely on your support. This was a tweet from a while ago, and this was regarding a teacher who was very concerned about online classes, very concerned about Zoom calls and what parents might hear in these Zoom calls. And this is very important to pay attention to and how these people react to this. This man says, this is Matthew R.K. He says, while conversations about race are in my wheelhouse and remain a concern in this no-walls environment, I am almost intrigued by the damage that helicopter snowplow parents can do in honest conversations about gender and sexuality, right? Snowplow parents, helicopter parents. You mean good fucking parents that pay attention to their kids? You mean kids who have two parents in their home? Who are making sure that what their kids are learning is something that they want to learn because they're paying the tax dollars, not only for the education of their kids, but the white parents and Asian parents are paying for the education of everyone else's fucking kid. We know this, right? We know that public education is mostly paid for by white and Asians, by whites and Asians in the country, and has been paid for by whites for the longest time. White Americans and Asian Americans are the only two groups of people that pay more into the system than they receive. This is a fact. This is undeniable. So all of the public transportation, all of the public education, all of the welfare, and everything else, which should be considered forms of reparation already. We've been paying reparations for decades. And in fact, we should be getting reparations for the destruction of our cities that we have experienced over the past 3 to 5 months over fucking bullshit, over criminals who deserved to be in prison, who should have been in prison. But he's calling them helicopter or snowplow parents, and so he's concerned about what these parents might hear. And while conservative parents, white parents, mostly, are my chief concern, not all, but mostly, are my chief concern, I know that the damage can come from the left too if we are engaged in the messy work of destabilizing a kid's racism or homophobia or transphobia. How much do we want their classmates' parents piling on? So this fall, virtual class discussions will have many potential spectators, parents, siblings, etc. in the room. We'll never be quite sure who is overhearing the discourse. What does this do for our equity inclusion work? How much have students depended on the somewhat secure barriers of our physical classrooms to encourage vulnerability? How many of us have installed some version of what happens here stays here to help this? We know why. We know why they're concerned about what they're teaching on online Zoom calls. We know why they're concerned about what's being said in these online Zoom calls during fucking English class. We have the story from the Daily Mail here. Los Angeles teacher flees her home with daughter after receiving death threats when an angry parent shared a photo of her wearing an I Can't Breathe t-shirt during a virtual class. So I just want to mention this. Okay, I want to mention this for just in case there's one of the 1,300 individuals watching right now, or two of the 1,300 individuals watching right now that don't know this. But the I can't breathe saying is false. It's fake. It's based on bullshit. We know this from the body camera footage that showed that he was complaining about having trouble breathing and feeling like he was choking before the officers even touched him, before the officers even took him to the ground. While he was in the car, 3 feet away from the officer's nearest touch. He complained about having trouble breathing. It's much like with they still wear the shirts. We still see them, right, in videos and photos where they're wearing the shirts, hands up, don't shoot. That didn't happen. The hands up, don't shoot never happened. It was a lie told by black witnesses who lied because the victim was black, because they think the most racially, as we talked about. They eventually came out and admitted that they were lying, which they should have faced prosecution for lying, but they didn't. They eventually came out and said, yeah, the hands up, don't shoot. He never even said that. That never even happened. Nothing even remotely close or remotely similar even happened. He instead charged that police officer, ran at him, dove at the police, and attempted to steal their gun just after he put a convenience store clerk in the chokehold. So I just wanted to mention that just in case there's like one or two or three people out there that still don't know that. I can't breathe t-shirt during a virtual session. Now, you have to remember this is an English class. I'm pretty sure a Los Angeles English teacher was forced to flee her home. It's an English teacher wearing an I can't breathe t-shirt. At least they corrected the breathe part, right? Because if they were to put it exactly how he said it, it would be I can't brief. A Los Angeles teacher was forced to flee her home after receiving numerous death threats for wearing an I Can't Breathe t-shirt during one of her virtual class sessions. The teacher at El Camino Real High School in Woodland Hills, California, wore the shirt in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and included instruction about racial injustice in her teaching, which the school allowed. But a parent upset with her class allegedly shared a photo of the teacher on social media along with her email address and invitations to harass her. She was bombarded with threats last week that forced her to leave her home with her daughter in fear for their lives. Protests and rallies in support of the teacher unfolded outside the school last week. And the schools, a lot of these schools are allowing this, right? A lot of these schools are allowing this. And if you think about this in terms of how they treat statues, right? We're going to get to that next. There's a couple of statues that are being torn down right now and monuments being renamed. But let's think about it how they look at statues, right? They say, well, we better pull down these statues because they might get vandalized. This is what they say. They haven't been vandalized yet. They haven't been attacked yet. They haven't been decapitated yet. But we should pull down these statues and pull down these monuments just in case they get vandalized. To protect our community, they say. To reduce the violence, to reduce the chaos, to reduce the outrage or the potential outrage. This is what they do. They do this preemptively. Why wouldn't you say the same thing about teachers teaching about Black Lives Matter? You know that this is a hot political topic. You know that the support for Black Lives Matter has been dropping, especially among white parents, which it's basically completely flatlined. Why wouldn't you treat this exactly like the way that you treat the statues that say, well, teachers, don't teach this, don't wear any shirts that are pro-Black Lives Matter. Some companies are doing this, some private companies are doing this. Of course, these Black Lives Matter activists are attacking them for laying out the lines of this because they know that it can cause, division, chaos, loss of business, things like this. Well, now this teacher is fleeing because these parents exposed her. It says a Los Angeles English teacher was forced to flee her home after receiving numerous death threats. We have this tweet from Elijah Riot. I was going to say Elijah Wood. Elijah Riot, Elijah Schaefer. This is a Los Angeles USD English teacher on a Zoom call wearing an I can't brief. An I can't breath? He forgot the E. Well, luckily we have an English teacher to correct this here. I can't brief t-shirt teaching her students about racial injustice and fixing the corrupt system. A concerned father reached out to me because his daughter was not being taught English in her online English class. Imagine that. Imagine not being taught English in your online English class, and instead being taught Ebonics and not Ebonics, and instead being taught about Black Lives Matter in your English class. I had a similar circumstance. I didn't call for harassment. I didn't call for anything. Actually, the only thing that I did was post a video. Many of you probably remember this. But I posted a video of this teacher, this professor, Albert Ponce, who basically called for the overthrow of America, the violent overthrow of America. This is basically what he did in his class. So for those of you who don't know, I run a page on Facebook called Film Your Marxist Professors. We're hoping to get more videos, but people haven't been submitting videos, but we used to get a lot of videos. And especially with these Zoom calls, I mean, there should be a lot more, right? Screen recording. Send in your videos if you haven't already. contact at theredelephants.com or send it into the Film Your Marxist Professor's Facebook page. But I posted this video of Albert Ponce, and this is a story. Someone reached out to me. This stupid journalist reached out to me to interview him. All I did was I ended up just arguing with this guy the entire time and just blowing him out. But it said it started just before Christmas last year. Ponce logged into his college email account expecting the usual. Work messages, a few season's greetings from family and colleagues, maybe some spam. Instead, he found an inbox full of vitriol. Your unintelligible, racist, Marxist filth. You have been noted, and we all know you now, read another. Ponce soon discovered that his Facebook page and personal website were cluttered with nasty comments as well, and his office answering machine was full. Hundreds of people were calling for his firing. They slung racial epithets, told him to return to his home country. Ponce was born in Orange, California, and made thinly veiled death threats. I mean, during his entire seminar, his entire address, he was basically attacking white people. I'm going to show you that clip next. The only good red is a dead red. Give that guy some helicopter therapy. Read one former Facebook comment. That's the typical thing that you're going to see on Facebook. A reference to a series of memes. Well, it's important to note that this was back in 2017 too. So, a reference to a series of memes popular in white nationalist circles. A Chilean dictator, Augusto Pinochet's practice of throwing political enemies, communists, out of helicopters. So it says, flipping the teacher-student relationship. So it says it took Albert Ponce a few days, but he eventually traced the deluge of emails, phone calls, and comments back to their source. Someone claiming to be one of his students had sent a video to one of Ponce's lectures to a right-wing media site called The Red Elephants. Little old me did this. A video came with a note complaining that Diablo Valley College professors were anti-white and anti-American, and that Ponce required students to attend extracurricular lectures where he indoctrinates them with lies. Ponce needs to be exposed, the note said. Campus Watch and the College Fix then picked it up. Thank you guys over there. Appreciate it. The Red Elephants co-founder and contributor Vincent James O'Connor, who also goes by Vincent James or Vincent James Fox online, posted a story about Ponce's lecture headlined, DVC Professor Calls for Violent Overthrow of White Supremacist America, filmed by a student journalist for the campus newspaper. And here's this clip now. In case you guys haven't seen it. But this just goes to show you the effect that one man can have. No one man should have all that power.
And there were a people here, an indigenous people, who paid the price, the very heavy price, for this project that is unfolding of white supremacy. So we begin with the fact that we exist in a white supremacist, patriarchal, heteronormative, capitalist system. Thomas Jefferson, all men are created equal, yet I hold 200 slaves and I've raped many of them. And that's the beauty of the law. If you can write it, you can convince all others to follow it, just like all of us do today, when we shouldn't. Many of the laws existing, we should be violating those laws. We're taught to get up and pledge allegiance to the flag every single day, a flag that's not really representative of everybody who's standing up in that room. Right? Maybe that's the way it should be taught. All those who this flag represents stand up, and maybe 50% of this room, you stay sitting down because this is not for you. We do it through the Constitution, which should be called a white man's Constitution. And we still get up before every ball game, and these folks here are supposed to respect that flag. When Colin Kaepernick stands up, and literally takes a knee, but stands up for justice, for what is right, what happens to him? He is vilified. Karl Marx, one of the most profound thinkers in the history of Western philosophy. So it is fitting that a white supremacist of old with white supremacists of today exist and sit there smiling in the White House. Abolition. What does abolition mean? Abolition means we must destroy it, not reform it. No voting is going to help. No writing your congressperson. We need to smash white supremacy. And we try to use legal means, but are legal means enough?
In fact, we'll have to, when we do abolish this white democracy, that it will have to be in conflict, that it would have to be something where we have to bear arms, where we'd have to go against and do what is illegal.
Well, what is illegal in the eyes of the state?
What is illegal in the eyes of the state? According to Albert Ponce, professor at Diablo Valley College. Of course, we all know that also Eric Clanton came from Diablo Valley College. Many of you remember Professor Eric Clanton, who was involved in the Berkeley protest and the Berkeley riots that occurred, which I was at, live, in person, on YouTube. One of the first YouTube live streams I ever did, where he bashed someone over the head with a bike lock. And in case you don't know what happened there, just go ahead and look that up on YouTube. Shuttershot45 has that on his main YouTube channel. In fact, he was the source. He filmed that particular attack. This professor, which they turn out to be a lot, right? These Antifa members that are causing chaos, that are throwing Molotov cocktails or something like this, they either tend to be lawyers or tend to be professors. Both of those categories always seem to be, in a lot of cases, seem to be Jewish. Not sure where the connection is there, but this man attacked this guy with a bike lock, hit him over the head, almost killing him. It was a steel bike lock, very heavy. He hit him with all of his force, and he got off. And he got off thanks to the organizational structure that the left wing has set up, which I've talked about time and time again. Funding activism, funding an organizational structure, funding the things that matter. The left has figured this out a long time ago, whereas Republican donors are still donating to like the campaigns of Paul Ryan and the campaigns of Mitch McConnell and the campaigns of these people who are just only going to inevitably end up in the pockets of the people who are trying to kill us, in the corporations, right? The big business of the people who want us dead, the people who are funding more of this chaos, who are funding, in large part, a lot of the campaigns of the district attorneys that are dropping charges and refusing to prosecute people, and are funding other organizations that are causing chaos in the streets, or funding in large part contributing to the chaos in the streets. One last thing on the school front here. Washburn University removes statues of controversial Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. So now Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin have become two very controversial individuals who they are going to start removing nationwide. Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. In Kansas, where Jaden McNeil hails from, I think, right? They've attacked. Am I right on that? Is he from Kansas? They attacked Jaden McNeil. His school attacked him, threatened to remove him. Fire, I think, stood up for him, thankfully. People are beginning to fight back. Quietly removed statues of Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin from campus in July over concerns that they would be vandalized by protesters. Yes, Vince, it is K-State, right? Kansas State. So this is Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. Kansas State is the university where the people were attacking Jaden McNeil. The university also feared that having a statue of Thomas Jefferson would become a target of embarrassment for alumni and a target of vandals, right? So this is what we talk about when how they treat statues versus how they allow teachers to do this, and they know that what the reaction is going to be from some parents if found out. This is why they try to not be found out. This is why they tell their students to, in a lot of cases, I've heard students say that they had to leave their phones in the locker. They can't film in class. According to a report by the College Fix, Washburn University removed the statues of Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin in July to prevent vandalism. The statues, which were donated by a Washburn alumnus, were replaced with blue benches. The decision to remove the statues came in response to a petition that circulated at the University of Missouri, in which demanded the removal of a racist Thomas Jefferson statue on campus. My goal is to eventually become a powerhouse of truth. That is why it is imperative that you check the links in the description below and go to either Patreon and Subscribestar and support us for at least the cost of a cup of coffee a month. We already have writers writing for TheRedElephants.com, but we'd like to bring on more in the near future. By the way, at TheRedElephants.com, you can also find t-shirts, hats, and other products. Check the links in the description below. It helps us out tremendously.